Hey everyone, welcome back to the show Side Quest with JayBeazt. I'm your host Jay. Today we're diving into something that's been slowly creeping up on all of us gamers, the subscription squeeze. By that, I mean the way rising prices and shifting perks on services like PS Plus and Game Pass are starting to put real pressure on players' wallets. You probably noticed it, like Game Pass prices going up, PlayStation Plus shifting tiers and charging more for the premium stuff, and even Nintendo hinting at higher costs for their online expansions. At first, it all felt like a bargain for all of us. Unlimited games for the price of a pizza, right? Sign me up. But now, well, those bargains are starting to feel more like regular bills. And that's forcing players like you and me, all of us, to rethink how we play, what we play, and even if we stick around in those ecosystems. So, today we're going to break down what's really going on behind these subscription hikes, how it's rewiring players' habits, and what it might mean for the future of gaming. If you want to dive even deeper into the bigger picture of the gaming industry, including how AAA delays and core development are reshaping the games you play right now, I'll actually be putting out a whole new video deep diving into that in my main channel over the weekend on my YouTube channel, JayBeazt Gaming. Check it out when it comes, so tune into the channel as well. Anyway, grab a coffee because we got a lot to unpack today. Alright, let's rewind a little bit. Remember when Game Pass first launched? It felt too good to be true. For a flat fee, you suddenly had access to dozens, then hundreds of games, including brand new releases like Halo Infinite and Forza Horizon 5 on day one. For PlayStation, PS Plus started out a little bit more modest, mainly as online access with a handful of monthly freebies, but eventually Sony also shifted gears and built out their essential, extra, and premium tiers, deluxe if you're in Australia, trying to compete head-to-head with Xbox. Nintendo does its own thing, but even their online expansion pack is basically their version of tapping into the subscription model. At first, this was all about value. These services weren't just gaming equivalents of Netflix, they were marketed as the future. Why spend $70 if you're in US or $100 if you're in Australia on one game when you could spend $10 a month or $11 a month in Australia and play everything, right? And honestly, a lot of us actually bought into this, including myself. Suddenly, I was playing games I would have never paid full price for, indies I'd always skipped, random AA titles, even classics I missed back in the day. It was like a buffet. I mean, South of the Midnight is a standout for me. That's a game I probably would have never played unless it wasn't for the Game Pass. You know, things like that. And if you're like me, you probably told yourself, this is gonna save me money, which, let's be honest, we all said. But then the reality set in. We'll get to that in a minute. Game Pass Ultimate used to be $14.99. Now it's $19.99 in most regions. Here in Australia, Ultimate went from $19 to freaking $23 right now. PS Plus Premium, at launch, it was about $120 in US. Now it's seen a $40 increase for annual subscription, sitting at $160. If you're like me here in Australia, we got deluxe instead of premium, which has no cloud streaming. And that started at $155 per year at launch. And now it's a whopping $60 at $215 per year. If you're paying per month on paper, it doesn't sound that bad. A couple of extra dollars a month, right? But here's the thing. It's not happening in a vacuum. Netflix is also up. Disney Plus is up. Spotify raised prices, even Amazon Prime now costs more. And the base tier of Amazon Prime now has ads. The same tier you had without ads this whole time. So now players are looking at their monthly bills and going, wait a second, I was supposed to be saving money here. And this is where the squeeze comes in. Subscriptions are no longer this shiny, amazing deal. They're turning into yet another fixed bill that eats away at your gaming budget. And unlike movies or music, where you can binge dozens of shows or albums in a week, games take time. A lot of time. That changes the math. Like, why pay $20 a month if you're only really playing 1 or 2 games consistently? Especially when half the big launches still cost $70 on top of that anyway. $70 in the US, $100, $120 now in Australia. And that's where habits start to change. Some people unsubscribe and bounce back in when a big exclusive drops. Others downgrade from premium to essential if that can be done. And some just grit their teeth and keep paying because, well, their friends are all still there. This is the squeeze. It's not just price hikes. It's a psychological pressure of choice, FOMO, and convenience all tangled up together. And this is the heart of it. Player behavior is shifting. Subscriptions aren't just changing how much we pay, they're actually changing how we play. When we have too much choice, we end up with backlog anxiety. When you got like 400 games staring at you, suddenly you don't finish anything. You hop in, play a few hours, then bounce. Because hey, there's always another shiny game waiting. Instead of committing to one big purchase, players are dipping into way more titles, but with less attachment. It's like Tinder for games. Quick swipes, less long-term commitment. Subscriptions have turned games into content drops. People jump back in when there's a new season, like new DLC or fresh headline game on the service. Otherwise, they start drifting. However, I've been seeing 3 big patterns lately, and it might give us a clue as to where this is heading. First up, subscription hopping. Players are subscribing for a month, binging a couple of titles, then cancelling until something new comes along. It's exactly what people started doing with Netflix. You jump in when there's value, then jump out when there isn't. Secondly, library paralysis. You know that feeling when you sit down, scroll through a massive Game Pass or PS Plus library and end up not picking anything? Too much choice leads to indecision. Instead of being excited, you feel weirdly overwhelmed, and sometimes you just default back to Fortnite or Call of Duty anyway. And thirdly, going selective. Some players are looking at the math and saying, all right, forget it. I'll just buy the handful of games I actually want each year, and I'll save money compared to keeping a subscription. Especially if you're the type who only buys 3 or 4 big titles annually. I mean, if you're only here for FIFA or Call of Duty, what's the point of paying for a 400 game library you'll never touch? Here's the kicker. Publishers are actually aware of this behavior, which leads to the next section. Microsoft and Sony know you're doing the sub-hop thing. They know library paralysis is real. That's why their strategies are starting to shift. For Game Pass, the ace card was always day one releases. Starfield, for example, or the promise that every future Bethesda and Activision Blizzard title will land on day one. It's not about the library anymore. It's about the must-play game that makes cancelling feel kind of stupid. Sony's approach has been a little bit different here. They're betting on prestige and back catalog. You won't get day one first-party titles like Spider-Man or Wolverine on PS Plus, but you do get a deep vault of classics, third-party partnerships, and time-limited trials. Sony's betting you'll stay for the ecosystem, not the instant gratification. To be honest, both strategies are kind of risky. Microsoft's model is very expensive. Those day one deals don't come cheap. Sony's model, on the other hand, risks looking stingy compared to the competition. But the squeeze isn't just on us as players, it's on them too. Publishers are under pressure to make these services profitable. And right now, that's, let's just say, complicated. So why are Sony and Microsoft pushing so hard here? For them, Subscriptions are gold. Recurring revenue means stability. Investors love it. And the dream scenario for these companies are very simple. Every player locked into their ecosystem forever, paying a monthly fee. But like I said before, to make these services appealing, they need constant fresh content. And content isn't cheap. Games cost hundreds of millions now, which is why Microsoft is gobbling up studios and Sony is digging deep into live service plans. It's all to feed the subscription beast. The problem? If costs rise faster than content satisfaction, players start noticing. And unlike Netflix, where it's easy to background watch something, gaming requires attention, time, and so much energy. If the juice isn't worth the squeeze, people are gonna drop off. And that's the razor's edge Sony and Microsoft are walking right now. So, what does this mean for us? I think players are gonna get a lot more intentional about how they game. Instead of just setting and forgetting a subscription, people are gonna start treating them like seasonal passes. Jump in during a big release, then cancel. We're also gonna see more conversations about ownership. If everything is locked behind a subscription, what happens when those games disappear? What happens when servers shut down? Players are starting to remember the value of just owning a disc in some ways, or at least a digital copy. And indie devs, they're kind of caught in the middle right now. Subscriptions can be really amazing for exposure, but with tighter budgets and higher subscription prices, will smaller studios still get the spotlight, or will the big guys dominate the rotation even more? So this brings the question, where does this all lead? I see a few possible futures. First up, subscription consolidation. Just like cable TV eventually bundled into packages, we might see gaming services also merge in a similar way. I mean, currently we already got something like that going on with Ubisoft Plus being available with PlayStation Plus, EA Play being available with Game Pass. Imagine all of those come together as one thing. It sounds crazy, but it can happen. Secondly, higher prices but smaller pools. The big players keep hiking prices until only the hardcore loyalists will stay, while casuals will bounce. And also a consideration would be hybrid models, maybe a base subscription for access plus microtransactions or selected purchases for premium stuff. Kind of similar to what PS Plus tiers kind of doing right now. And then there's backlash and return of ownership. This is a wild card. If too many players feel burned, we could see a revival of buy once, own forever as a marketing hook. I mean, crazier things have happened. Smaller publishers might even weaponize it, like, hey, we are the anti-subscription company, buy our game, keep it forever. That kind of thing. Personally, I think subscriptions are here to stay. But they'll never be the only way we play. Just like Spotify didn't kill vinyl, Game Pass won't kill ownership, but it is reshaping the middle ground. Okay, here's the big takeaway. The subscription dream isn't actually dead, but it's shifting. What was once this magical, affordable gateway into gaming is now becoming another bill you have to justify. And the way you justify it, the way I justify it, is changing. Some of us will keep the always on subscription. Some of us will hop in and hop out. Some will ditch it altogether. Publishers wanted subscriptions to become as essential as electricity. But games aren't electricity. They're time, their choice, their value. And when you raise the price, you force people to rethink what that value really is. So let me throw it back to you. How have subscription price hikes changed the way you play? Have you cancelled? Do you sub-hop? Or do you still think it's the best deal in gaming? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment, hit me up on socials, and as always, thanks for hanging out with me today. This has been a side quest with JayBeazt. I'm your host Jay, signing off. Catch you in the next one. Bye bye.